One. Good evening, Christopher Jackson. This is SHB Unfiltered, episode number
11.
11, which means it's day number 11 of lockdown. We are in London, stuck at home, quarantined, we're locked down, and nothing else to do. So we thought we'd start a daily podcast. Past the sweet spot of 7. We're on number 11, and we're going strong. This is the only podcast with people who stutter, running daily feeds, and we maintain actually, thanks to your quick thinking. And we are the only podcast with people who stutter running every single day. We'll be taking questions on the Instagram feed, and this recording, this episode will be available on YouTube straight after this podcast is done. That's my introduction.
Provided everything works out.
Don't worry, Chris. Don't worry, Chris. All right. Chris, how's the day been?
Today's been okay. Usual, a little bit of work in the morning. I got a Joe Wicks home hit workout in today.
Oh, yeah.
Which is quite difficult.
Did he make the food as well? He does the whole package, doesn't he?
Yeah, no. I haven't been cooking any midget trees today or anything you like to call broccoli.
Bro, did you see my Instagram story today? I made a banging seafood tagliatelle.
Oh, the seafood tagliatelle. I was going to call it seafood linguine.
Yeah, but I use tagliatelle instead. So I call it tagliatelle. My twist, put some chilies in there. Right amount of spice. Finish it off with some chives on top. And
I didn't know you could cook.
Mate. I'm a fiend in the kitchen. I'm a fiend in the kitchen. Fiend. Cool. So just thought to kick off, I thought it'd be good to actually do a recap of what happened yesterday. Not going into too much detail, but there were follow-up questions from people afterwards about certain aspects of what we talked about. And I just thought it'd be good to gauge what your thoughts were. If you have any feedback for our friends who asked some questions. Got a few DMs from people from different groups, some from a certain M group, and it was a good answer their questions. Some just wanted to chit chat because it was a good excuse to catch up. And yeah, what do you think, bro?
Well, do you wanna fire any of those questions at me, and I'll just give my take on it?
Questions again
from people from the M group, or people that have reached out, or people that I don't know, people that just had any questions.
I think the classic one was, what's the kind of what's the difference? Because some people see there is a perceived conflict between SHB and the M group, and we essentially kind of really align doing similar things, but I don't believe that's true. How would you address that person's issues? Not issues, but worries.
Well, there's no reason why SHB and the M group can't exist at the same time. The M group's heavily focused on the speaking technique, whereas we're heavily focused on the mindset. We reward ourselves for the action that we take rather than the outcome. And that's what we try to work on. Yes, every speech therapy program will have similar techniques. I'm sure the S project has very similar techniques to the M program and SHB, but SHB takes it that one step further, where we want to help people in their real world environments. We work on everything that we implement in our real world rather than just at course and then try to help via other ways outside of the course. We actually like to coach in the real world.
Yeah, like who else is actually going into people's places of employment and education and helping colleagues and classmates actually understand a bit more about what's happening for that person to kind of thrive in that environment, right? Because it's all good having kind of support there that you can reach out to, but sometimes if you don't have that kind of personality to go and get it in life or just that course, then you're going to struggle, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, on these programs, it's up to the individuals that they get paired up with, and it's up to the support network that they manage to create for themselves when they're on these programs. And if they're lucky, then someone might be willing to do that. I personally don't know of anyone that has, but I'm not saying that it hasn't ever happened before. So yeah, that's the main difference, and that's what we want to work on with people that we help.
Cool. So just gonna move past that, and I thought this would be an amazing opportunity. Great timing because it's just the two of us today. There's no one else to distract us. Yeah. Jokes aside, it would have been great to have him here because he would have had a lot to contribute to this topic as well. Chris, why did SHB start, and what's the reason for actually creating this charity? Because I know you mentioned previously that idea came from your dad, etc. But people have ideas all the time. So why did this actually form, and what is the purpose of SHB, and what are your aspirations for SHB?
Well, the charity initially formed, it wasn't even a charity. AO set up a WhatsApp group. What was happening is a lot of people were contacting AO at the same time as he was coaching people, and they ended up only speaking to him because a lot of the people that were on the program wasn't answering the phone. So he ended up getting a lot of repeated phone calls, and he decided to start up a WhatsApp group. Then the WhatsApp group grew and grew and grew. Then AO obviously had to leave that program, and it grew and grew and grew, and people were asking for more and more help, and we thought, hey, let's start a charity. The aspirations for the charity is to focus on making a real impact and helping a number of people over the next few years in improving their everyday lives, but we want to focus on helping people to attain their working aspirations or their life aspirations, more of a personal development situation that we focus on rather than just speech. Speech is one thing, but you have to work on yourself as well. And you only see the benefits of working on your speech once you're achieving things you want to achieve in life. It's no good just working on your speech, because sooner or later the motivation will or could die down a little bit. Whereas when you're working on your life as well and you want good speech to achieve these things in your life, then that's what keeps the long-term motivation there. And that's what we want to work on with people.
It's probably a lot healthier as well, because you could agree or disagree with this next statement, but I know some people who work on their speech purely because they are scared of their speech reverting back to where it was. And if anything is fueled by some kind of fear, then you are kind of walking a dangerous path, because you're in some ways always looking over your shoulder.
Yeah.
Wondering when you'll get caught out, and that's not the most comfortable way to live your life and do things, and that will hold you back to some extent. That will hold you back, even if you don't believe it. Just that fear of actually reverting back to the level you were at the start of the month or the year or any particular program you embarked upon. Fear isn't the best motivator. You really need to be motivated by things you're passionate about. Then you can actually enjoy the process a lot more and cope with micro failures a lot better.
Yeah, I think that's a key point. A lot of people work on their speech to run away from pain, and that's not a great motivator long term. Running away from that short term pain, you can probably achieve that quite quickly on any course you try to do, but how long will that last for? That's what people need to realize. When I started to work on my speech, it was no longer running away from pain, it was chasing something positive. What did I want to achieve in life? It's more like working towards something than running away from something chasing you constantly. We don't need to live in fear of something bad constantly happening to us. And what we focus on something bad happening to us is that our speech reverts back to the way it is. But rather, we should be focusing on why we want to have good speech, and it shouldn't be because I don't want to have bad speech. It's because I want to get this out of life, and whatever this is changes from person to person, and everyone has to find that and keep focused on that.
Thanks, Chris. Just want to make some comments from the Instagram feeds. Just want to welcome our boy Chase. I can see Chase jumped on. How's it going, Chase? Hope you've been well. To Chase, our friend from across the pond from Canada, not the US. Not the US. I made a mistake. He's 100%. Is that it? Joking. And got Adesanya on from wherever he is. Hope you're doing well, bro. Today's topic, just for your reference, is why SHB started, and talking about different motivation for working on yourself and how SHB helps people achieve that. So Chris, SHB, you have other organizations on the stuttering landscape. Do you see a place for SHB to coexist with these organizations? Because I know there is perceptions from certain individuals in organizations, and it isn't always the easiest environment to navigate, because people have their own agendas, and in the end they're all well-meaning, but even the most well-meaning plans can be warped depending on who's at the top. So I just want to ask, is there a place for SHB to coexist and cohabitate with these other organizations, or will there always be conflict?
I think there is room for SHB to coexist with everyone, and I believe that everyone should really be supporting each other, because at the end of the day, we're all working towards the same thing, and that's to help people who stutter improve their lives. I feel like, yes, there's this competition between these different programs, but like I've always said, and I will continue to say, it's not about the program necessarily, it's about the individuals that you meet on that program. So I might be able to help someone and connect with someone. That person or another person might not personally get along with me. That person might be better off doing their course in a group environment. That person might find it better to work in a group where I may coach you on a one-to-one basis. So different people have the right to try different things, and that's why everyone can coexist. That's why you have speech and language therapists, you have your M group, you have your S project, you have SHB, you have the BSA that offers support and advice, which people love and people get a lot out of it. So of course there's room for everyone to coexist, and everyone can play their part in helping people that stutter. I don't personally see the issue.
Would you be comfortable telling someone who approached you for help that after your initial discussions and maybe assessment, and then as you kind of embark on coaching them, would you be comfortable telling them that you can't actually help them achieve the target that they want, and they may need to actually become part of a group organization or get some more from a different type of organization before you can actually play your part? Because quite a lot of the time it isn't necessarily that the approach is the problem, but it could be the right approach at the wrong time for that person.
Exactly. People, depending on what their current situation is in their personal lives, have the ability to take in different things at different times or accept different things at different times. Like, for example, when I first started trying to do work on my speech at 13 years old, it wasn't the right time for me. Then when I got older, it was the right time for me. And individuals that I met a lot later on, I connected with, and I was able to make good progress. That's why on the SHB website, you will see that as a charity, we let people know what the other options available are. We've even got Chase on our website. He's got his program that he runs. I wouldn't have an issue with telling someone, listen, I think you should talk to Chase. I personally haven't got an issue with that. I haven't got an issue with saying, listen, I think that a group setting might be more beneficial to you at this time, because it's about the individual. You have to look at the individual's situation. It's not a one size fits all.
So with SSB, we work with predominantly people above the age of 18. Our kind of core target group is 18 to 35. 18 to 35.
18 plus.
18 plus. So what are the kind of challenges with under 18s? Because you would assume that, like with all things, if you can nip things early, then it's all better, right? But what are the complexities with coaching under 18s who experience stuttering, speech impediments, and everything that goes along with it?
Coaching under 18s, I just feel like what we're targeting is to help people get on with their working lives. We're trying to help people improve their working aspirations. So if they're in a job they hate, we want to work with them to get them out of it and put them in a job they like. Or if they want a promotion, we want to focus on helping them get a promotion. That's just a target market that we feel we are best suited to help. There's a lot of other organisations out there that are doing fantastic work with kids. You've got the likes of Action for Stammering Children that are doing brilliant work with kids. We just feel like we're best suited, in our experience, to help people that are trying to get on with their working lives. So yes, you do get a lot of challenges, but that's not to say that children below the age of 18 can't make improvements with their speech, because they can. It's been proven. But just with what we teach and our approach, we feel like it's best suited to those over the age of 18.
Yeah, I think even though I asked the question, I'm going to add some things to the answer. It does help when you're kind of in that age bracket. It's easier to relate a bit more to that person. So I think kind of me attempting to coach someone kind of 13, 14 now, it may be very, very tricky. Schools changed a lot since I was in school. There's different challenges, right? Different challenges, but I can really help and add value to someone kind of in their 20s, because just basic things like navigating through job employment, have plenty of experience in helping people get into employment, stuttering or without stuttering, and a variety of aspects and skills that need to get employment. So in the end, you've got to focus on your strengths and look at the skills that you have within your charity. Going to the next question, I want to kind of drop it down a bit, take it slightly away from stuttering in general, but what are the challenges with starting a charity? Because there must be hundreds, if not thousands, in the UK charities for anything and everything. What does it take to start a charity and make a charity stand out?
There's a lot of challenges, and to be honest, there was a lot more challenges than I realized before we embarked on this journey of getting a registered charity. Just the paperwork that's involved that you have to complete in order to get your charity number, and then the wait time to hear back from the charity commission. It took us like, say, just under a year to get our charity number, and there was a lot of documentation that was going back and forth. You had to prove what your intentions were. Apparently, I've learned since putting my application or our SHB application through that there's a lot of charities that try to do things like they only set up to try and money launder, and the charity commission had to keep an eye on that and stuff like that. So
that's not us, by the way.
No, but there's a long, rigorous process that you have to go through in order to prove what your intentions are and how you intend to deliver it. So there's a lot of questions that you have to ask. There's a lot of forms that you've got to fill out. There's a lot of budgeting that you have to do. There's a lot of challenges in terms of raising funds. So yeah, there was a lot of challenges. There's also a lot of challenges in terms of people that will want to get involved, but they don't want anyone to know that they are involved, which is also a challenge. So there's a lot of people that ask for help, but they want to be helped in confidence. They don't want anybody to know that they're a part of the charity, which our charity has aspirations to grow, and the way the majority of programs or majority of organizations grow is through testimonials. So when you've helped someone and they're not willing to give a testimonial, it makes it difficult to prove that you are having an impact and you are changing people's lives. So that's another challenge that we faced early on, but that challenge is getting less and less now. But yeah, there's a few challenges, but like I said before in another podcast, if you haven't got the passion, then you will give up. But between all of us and the trustees, we all had the passion, so there was no chance of us giving up at the first hurdle.
Do you then have a message for anyone who wants to get involved with Stop Holding Back, with charity that's new, thriving, cutting edge in terms of technology within the stuttering community, while everyone else is scrambling around trying to work out what to do when the virus is over? We just cracked on, started a daily podcast, running live feeds every day, number 11 today. Do you have any message for anyone who could be part of another program or not, but kind of maybe reluctant to share their issues with their loved ones, or they're part of a program, just don't want to show that they're associated with the name? Do you have any message for these people? Because now is the time, if anything.
Well, I think the general message is, if you want to get involved and be a part of SHB, just contact us. There's loads of ways to contact us through social media, through the website. Excuse me. Just because you're a part of SHB, it does not mean you have to enroll on one of our therapy programs. We have social meetups. We have communities where people can talk to each other, get advice, get support off each other. There's people from all different programs on there. And our main focus is to improve your quality of life, not to make you as fluent as we possibly can.
Cheers, Chris. something you mentioned today, actually, that I just wanted you to maybe repeat and expand on this podcast, but how has the daily podcast experience affected you? Because when we first started this, episode 1, 11 days ago, when lockdown began, we talked about some of the challenges regarding lockdown, the reduction in interactions with people. I briefly had the house party app, but I uninstalled it. I'm not sure if it was a hoax or not, but I didn't want to take the risk. I may reinstall it at some point. But how has this podcast, this daily live feed, Instagram, Facebook, the only stuttering podcast running every single day? You hear that? Every single day. How has this affected you in any way?
Well, I'm a speech coach, yeah, but I still have a stutter. I still need to work on it. And when you're in a situation like we're in now, locked down, your speaking situations are less and less. And the majority of them will be with members of your family. So you could argue that that's a comfort zone for someone that's got a stutter. So in order for us to continuously improve and continuously work on our speech, we need that speech challenge, which when we're at work, we usually get it pretty much with every other speaking situation. Before we launched this podcast, I could begin to feel that my speech wasn't as strong as what it usually would be. Because you have to remember, I wasn't feeling very well. So I was actually self-isolating a week before the official lockdown. So I already had a week just sitting at home, hardly speaking to anyone, just doing a bit of work from home and watching Netflix in between. So I wasn't talking much at all. Since doing this podcast, the beginning of a few episodes, it was more of a challenge than what I'm finding it is now. But I was still prepared to do a podcast, even though it could go what people could say horribly wrong and I may have harsh blocks, but that's not what we're concerned with at SHB. We're concerned about just getting involved in speaking situations regardless of what level of speech you have. So at the moment now, it's getting more natural, but this is just because I'm working on it. And as a result of doing these podcasts, I'm receiving calls from people and I'm working on my speech that way as well. So yeah, it's really helped me.
What's been the challenges of doing a daily podcast? Because 11 days in a row is quite a bit, right? And I guess it isn't like a normal day because we are quarantined. So to be honest, we don't really have much of an excuse, but if you really wanted to, you could always find an excuse. But apart from that, what's been the challenge from identifying things to talk about, or just yourself, or have you got enough t-shirts to change up? I remember, I think I wore like 3 in a row the other day. So I think like episode 7, 8, and 9, I had the same top on. And
listen, I haven't got the budget to wear an outfit every episode, man. So people tuning in constantly will see me wearing the same outfit. I don't care. There's nothing I can do about that. I'm not a multi-millionaire and I haven't got sponsorship deals with different clothing brands. But
I could have told you that. Don't worry. I could have told you that, and I think everyone else can.
No, the challenge has been to stay consistent with it, right? Yeah. It's difficult. It's easy to say, right, we're going to do one every day, but saying you're going to do it and actually following through with it is 2 different things, and that's just been the challenge. I mean, me and you were always going to be the main people that were on the podcast every day.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt, mate. Without a doubt.
Yeah, we always knew that Ayo's got his stuff going on, so he was going to maybe come once every couple of days or whatever. We've had Sanjog on here, who's been great fun, who's going to continue. But
yeah, he's been a big surprise probably because he's been there or thereabouts. He's just been cropping up with those winners. He's like a Lucas Moura, just he's ready and waiting, and then he crops up, bangs in a hat trick.
Yeah,
just keep things warm till Kane gets back.
We're not planning to drop him for the final, so it's okay.
Right. But that was it. But you could always argue, because even if they lost, then the question would be like, oh, well, you should play Kane. If you played Kane, rah, rah, rah. So that would have been a worse permutation than the fact that he played him and he wasn't a match fit and just got handled.
I don't think anyone would have complained, man. I don't think anyone would have complained. He would have had a chance to bring one at half time.
Yeah, but Kane is kind of player, like, you don't bring him on at half time. He stays on the pitch, because even if he's having a whack game, give him a penalty and he would bang it in. He's a penalty
If I was
machine.
Lucas Moura, I would never have put a Spurs shirt on ever again. I'm a Spurs fan. So if I was him, forget it. I've got you to the final single-handedly, and you've dropped me for someone that's been injured for how long? I can't even remember how long Harry Kane was injured for before that.
I wouldn't say that it was purely Lucas Moura, because Llorente changed the game against Ajax. So Llorente changed the game. So if you go even more deeper, I'd be more annoyed that Llorente got dropped. let alone Moura.
No, you can't be serious, man. You can't be serious, Llorente.
Yeah, rewatch the game, because as soon as they brought him on, they start playing him as target man. Just went route one to Llorente. He won the knockdowns, and then all the midgets picked it up and did the magic. Your Lucas Moura and Ericsson just start clicking. They start playing around Llorente. But anyway, SHB is extremely new. Very, very new. But would you say we are inexperienced as a charity? Probably, but as a group within the Stuttering community, would you say we are inexperienced?
No way. I wouldn't say we're inexperienced at all.
Justify it. Go on. What do you have? What do you have that you can really add value to for a person or for a different organization? What can you give to someone who is needing and wanting of help that they can't find from some of the other groups?
Well, I'm not a magician, that's for sure. But what I have done my whole life is, since 13 years old, I've worked on my speech, tried to work on my speech, tried various different types of therapies. I've tried everything there is. And I've had experience working with a lot of different people. I've been mentored by, I would say he is the best speech coach in the game. And he has mentored us. He is part of SHB. He's like the program director almost. He oversees everything, but we've reached a point where we're now equal. All of us, I'm talking AO, you, me. Between us, we've got 3, 4, 5 years worth of solid coaching experience, which a lot of people on other programs, I mean, they can become. How long does it take to become a primary coach on other programs, Ruben?
Bro, you know what? Like, it varies, but things have changed since we were on there, because I think that was the reason why it changed. because they fast tracked us. And you know what, this is going to be on record, because I still remember my conversation with Big D, Dave M. Something like for the primary coach training assessment, my overall score was the highest he'd seen. And the way it's done by peer evaluation. So you all have to rate and rank each other. And essentially, me and Ayo were top 2 of that crop of people going through. And we went in, I think, 4th or 5th course. 4th or 5th course. But
yeah, but how long did it take you to go on 4 or 5 courses? You can go on that in a matter of
months.
6 months.
Yeah, so
8 months, say.
Well, within our first year on the M group, we were already in start training, just bossing Q&A sessions and learning the difference between "bah" and "bah." And that was an interesting weekend, because that's where we learned a lot, but more importantly about some of the more sketchier things and the politics around the M group and different issues between different areas, because you can tell the UK is small by land, but there are quite a lot of courses throughout the year. And of course, because of the size of it, different regions, and you get frictions between those 2 regions, like frictions to a point where people won't attend
I've heard about
courses in the north because of certain people and certain alliances and this and that, and vice versa. That's not what we're about. Even though when Ayo got chucked off, he caused some of the biggest friction that they've had. To be honest, like the way they do it, you don't really learn to coach. It's kind of, they put you through all these questions, and there's some random questions. I still got the bloody example sheet. One of the questions on the test is, what's Dave M's Skype name? As in, that's irrelevant in terms of whether that piece of information can actually add value to your ability to coach. It's a very self-serving course, because they empower volunteers to help other people, which is an amazing thing. But they really kind of add like layer upon layer upon work and new student, and get calls, and eventually people just can't pick up, because you've got your own life to live, right? You've got your own life to live, and you can't pick up. I'd go home and get off the tube in London, 10 missed calls and voice messages that have to return. The next day I'm in the tube in the morning, heading to work. As in, you can't do that, because I can't just spend my whole day on the phone when I'm in employment and I'm on the phone already there. And it's very intensive for a program that's actually, the driving force is the strength of the volunteers. It doesn't work like that. And that's why people just stop picking up on this phone list. And when some people don't get answers back, they just stop calling and slip through the cracks. And who's going to call them back? No one's going to chase after them. and your only hope on that program is actually to become part of the like core tribe, the core clique. And it does get very cliquey, but there's some really good people in there, really good people. Some I call friends, but it isn't the best environment for everyone. And it shouldn't be an issue for other options out there, for them to take up other options out there. Because that's the way it is, right? If things don't work out, go somewhere else. But you shouldn't really have hard feelings or take it personally.
Yeah, that's how life works. Whatever you try, if it doesn't work, you keep going and you try again at something else. And then if you want to go back, you might want to go back. You have the right to, or you should have the right to be able to do that. Yeah, but can I ask you a question about what do you do if you're the only person that person really feels like they connect with, and you stop answering the phone to them?
Good question. To be honest, there's only one person from that program that I still speak to. One person, and by one person I mean, apart from like the friends I have there who stay in touch every now and then, have met up with one within the past few months. But the one who is someone that was assigned to me as a mentee, that I mentor. And he's the only person I still keep in touch with, purely because like we just carried on chatting still and became mates. And I will still keep talking to him regardless, because in the end, as in like he sees me as a mentor, but at the same time, like I'm not just going to ghost him because I am essentially kind of not part of that program anymore. It would be different if I had like kind of 10, 12 people.
You can't do that. You know what it's like to be in that position. You know what it's like to, you look forward to that phone call you make with that person. You rely on their advice. You know how important it is to be able to call them as and when you need to. And if that person just cuts you off, man, that's not cool. And we know how much that can affect that person.
I've actually met a couple of people who were having quite a lot of issues with their speech, and their primary coaches had actually left that program, just gone AWOL. They didn't really tell mentees anything as well. So it was kind of like out of the blue, just leaving people in the lurch. And I guess the least you could do is just say, look, like, this is the sitch. Speak to the regional director, hook yourself up with someone else, because I'm done here. And it's not personal, because in the end we are all on our own individual journeys. Slightly off topic, but in UFC MMA, have you heard of the Ultimate Fighter series?
No, that's different to the UFC, right?
Well, it's like a spin-off show, but it's actually one of the things that really popularized the UFC back in 2008-9.
Okay.
But did you ever watch The Contender, the boxing type thing?
I have before. I didn't watch it every year it was on, but I have watched an episode of it.
All right, cool. So same concept, right? You've got two teams. They're all budding MMA fighters. So they've all like done reasonably well in their regional circuits. So in every country, you've got your local promotions, your regional promotions. Same thing here in the UK. You've got BAMA. You've got a few others. You've got UCMA. I think that's around still. Then you've got Cage Warriors in Europe in general, and then people who generally do well in Cage Warriors. That's like the pathway to the UFC or Bellator. So one series, so what they do is they actually get two existing fighters to be the coaches for that season. Then at the end, the two coaches will be on the card for the final. So you got the finalists fighting against each other for the contract. Then they'll be on like the main card, but the headliner would be the two coaches. And
okay, sounds cool.
This season was in 2014, so it was meant to be Conor McGregor versus Jose Aldo. Aldo got injured, so Faber stepped in, and so they were the two coaches of the team, and they both had like very different approaches. First day after Conor picks his team of 8, I believe, 8, he takes him into the room, and then he just tells them, look, I'm not here to coach you.
What's he here for then?
No, as in, that's what he said to me. No, because he said to them, I'm not here to coach you. If you want me to coach you now and teach you how to like jab and cross, then you aren't ready for this. You should already know how to jab and cross. And what they did that season was they had USA against Europe. So he was like the coach of all of the Europeans. And then he just goes, in that room, everyone's going to be like, USA, USA. They're going to pretend like they're going to be friends, but they don't care about each other. He said it in a bit more colorful terms, but he said they don't care about each other, because in the end, there can only be one person who wins the show. So each team will fight against a person from the other team, but eventually get the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals. So Conor said to them, look, we will clean them out, but eventually they will all be gone and you guys have to fight against each other. You are all on your individual journeys, as am I. Like, take care of each other in training, but we are not an actual team. But understand that now, because they will be faking it in the other room. But have respect with each other, but understand that you are on your individual journey. Take responsibility of your training. Take responsibility. And in the same way, like when you go into speech course or like a massive group environment, everyone would be like clapping you and like making you feel 10 foot tall. But after you go home, essentially you are going to work, going to school by yourself. Whether you believe it or not, they will not be holding your hand and walking in with you. And you will get friendships through time on that course. But the reason why...
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. You will make great friends there.
Yeah, but the reason why you would... the reason why it's important to understand that in the end, it's an individual journey. You shouldn't go there just for a laugh, just for the social. You've got work to do. And if you feel that your progress has plateaued or reached a point there where you need to do something else just to jumpstart it, go somewhere else, do something else. Because it's an individual journey. And if you want to stay amongst the sheep, you would always be in the shadow of the shepherd. And that's the bottom line in the end. And that's what people have to understand. There's a reason why people keep rocking up month after month, year after year. And everyone's always trying to get back on track. Regardless, you go around the room, everyone is always trying to get back on track.
Yeah, always.
I've been on track now for a long, long time now. And I'm definitely on track. Bumps along the way, but that's part of the plan. That's part of it. because it isn't a straightforward, easy course that I've laid in front of me. And that should be the same for you and the same for anyone that's trying to really take their life to the next level. And that was the story, because you can have a team, you can be part of a team, and it's amazing. But in the end, you will be walking in to work, walking to school, walking to university, going through life as an individual.
Yeah, it's interesting what you were saying about when Conor McGregor. First of all, are you describing SHB as the Conor McGregor of speech coaches? Is that what you're trying to say?
I did not say
No,
anything, but like, it's up to how you want to interpret it. You can.
On a more serious note, what I was going to say is it's interesting about what you were saying. Conor McGregor is not here to coach. You should know how to jab and cross by now. And that's the situation that we find ourselves in with a lot of people that come and ask us for help. They've been on other programs, so they know how to breathe in a certain way, even though that's not necessarily the way that we tend to breathe. That's not the breathing pattern we use. But they know how to breathe in a certain way. They know how to use a hit and hold, or what some people call prolongations. They know how to use a block release, or what other people call pull-outs. So they're familiar with it. And we get people, the majority of people that come to us have already experienced that, but they just cannot implement it in their everyday lives. And that's what we focus on helping them do.
And that type of thing is actually beyond any technique and anything you can gain from kind of being away for 3 or 4 days, because essentially your issue is actually applying it in your day-to-day life. So why take you away from that to practice it in literally the center of your comfort zone? You couldn't get any more comfortable than actually rocking up there. And kind of, if you go there for the social, that's great. But understand that, like, if you are constantly kind of feeling crap about yourself on the outside, then there are problems with your intentions and the reason why you're doing things. And if you don't make changes, then you just feed an endless cycle.
Yeah, man. I agree.
All right, Chris, that's final questions coming up, dude. Final questions, because I'm getting a bit hungry. Hypothetical situation, right? So we've got someone from a different program who's been part of that for, say, 2 years now. Doing reasonably well. They're on good terms with people there. But they aren't like kind of in with them, but they want to actually contribute, do a bit more, and learn a bit more about the SHB approach. But they are kind of reluctant to actually put themselves out there, just in case they get found out. What would you advise and instruct them to do?
This isn't a hypothetical situation. I've been in this situation quite a few times, to be honest.
So what did you do?
I was personally happy to help them. After I helped them, they then said, "Do you know what? I don't care." They said, "I don't care if I'm shown. I'm prepared to do a testimonial. You've helped me so much. I'm prepared to do it." So I worked with them, and I was happy to work with them on a confidential basis. I don't mind. But it is a bit, I wouldn't say disappointing, but you're coming to me for help for a reason, and I'm prepared to help you. But like I said before, the way we grow our charity and the way we can help more and more people is by proving that we have an impact on people's lives. And the only way to really prove that is testimonials. Every other program uses testimonials. So we would like to be able to do the same thing. But we are still prepared to help people. There's no obligation to promote us and sing our name from the rooftops, but
It is
usually
annoying though, isn't
what
it? Come
happens
on. It is annoying though.
sorry?
It is annoying.
It is annoying because when I'm coaching someone, I fully invest myself into it, and I'm giving my time. I'm rearranging other things, and for you to want to keep SHB a secret, it's not really the nicest thing in the world, because what's actually happened in the past is we've had people contact us and we've helped them. I've been on this program, but I can't quite get this and I don't quite understand that and I'm trying to implement this. Can you help me? Blah, blah, blah. So you spend all this time helping them. And then you find that they're on social media promoting the other program that they've had to come to you for help. And it's like, all right, I'm not seeking recognition, but I can't really understand why you still give them so much credit when,
Well, just say nothing. Just say nothing.
Yeah,
if anything. One of the terms AO used once, which was brilliant, because he was getting it a lot, where he was getting calls from people on the M group even after he left, and he just emailed like the heads back and said, look, like, come on, these people, they keep calling me, like, tell them to not call me, because, or someone on your list pick up the phone, because in the end his term was he isn't their cleanup crew.
Yeah.
And that's essentially it.
Yeah, but I don't mind being the cleanup group. I'm here to help anyone. We don't mind that, but it's just the fact that.
But like 3-4 calls every day.
Sorry?
3-4 calls every day.
Yeah, I've experienced it. I've been there.
And you don't get the it isn't even about the recognition, but you get the vitriol back.
Yeah, it's the most fulfilling thing when you help someone. It's the nicest thing in the world.
Without a doubt.
But then it's not a very nice feeling when you put all this effort in. You're the one that's made the difference, but they're still giving all the credit to another program. So now when people look at that person's journey, they think it was the other program and not SHB, which is quite annoying. Yeah, I am going to use that word. It is quite annoying, but we're here to help people. So as long as we're helping people, I suppose. But it would be nice to get the recognition that we truly deserve, so that other people can come and get the same help.
I think the root of the annoyance is we don't have a lot of time on our hands, and it's important that, like, we should be doing work for our project, and helping them it's aligning with the priorities of the charity, but isn't pushing the charity forward if we don't get that shine back.
Exactly. That is the main issue for us. And when you're talking about challenges, that was one of the challenges that I was describing.
Yeah, it does seem ironic that they threw you out when you were coaching some of their own participants.
Yeah.
Even more so than people that are actually coaches on that phone list, which is extremely ironic, but we'll save that for another day. Yeah. I don't want to reopen episode 10.
Nah, no need.
No. Episode 10 was a milestone for many, many reasons. And
yeah.
Very, very salty. CJ, do you have anything for me before we wrap up?
Yeah, any final words on how isolation is affecting you personally? How has your speech journey been? Because you always ask me that question, but we never get the opportunity to ask you. Personally, for you, what is the podcast doing for you? Is it enhancing anything for you? Is it helping you with anything?
Oh, yeah. It's brilliant because literally everything I'm doing at work now is through WebEx and Skype and voice video calls. So this is perfect practice, perfect experience in like a light-hearted way. So when I have to do any formal presentations or team updates, etc. It's all very natural. I'm like fantastic in front of camera. Anyway, so this is a walk in the park, but it's been really good, a lot of fun. It's really interesting actually watching back the older episodes. I say older, but we recorded them last week.
Yeah.
So it does feel like older when you watch them back and see, hang on a minute, well, I look a bit more natural there, bit by bit turning into, we got that vibe going on between us, which is good. And that can only come with practice, right? So the podcast experience is fantastic. I do recommend anyone to try it. Get past episode 7. Episode 7 is a sweet spot. I learned that on a podcasting course, that get past episode 7, because that's where podcasts either stop short or go on. And we are no longer on episode 7, we're on episode 11, soon to be 12.
Yeah.
And we are...
we passed it. We passed that.
And at some point, we are going to switch to weekly or bi-weekly or whatever it is. And it's going to be really weird, isn't it?
It's going
to be so weird. I do not know how I'm going to spend my 6:30 to 7:30 every day, but
yeah.
I'm sure I'll fill the void somehow when that time comes. But as long as we are locked down, we are locked in, and we're cracking on.
Yeah.
So that's me for today, Chris.
Yeah.
Do you want to
wrap up, because Charlie's going to kill me because the dinner's probably ruined.
It's all good because I'm the one cooking here. So I've got hungry customer upstairs. We're waiting for dinner. So that's it. Do you want to do the ending? Because you haven't done one yet, have you? So yeah, go on.
Remember, guys, stop holding back.